And China will be the world's main trading partner for a significant majority of the world. And Russia is among them, and physically being neighbors so that Russia can make gas and oil pipelines and provide other raw materials which China doesn't have, makes them very complementary economies. And since the U.S. has designated both of them as enemies, it makes them natural allies. We did the one thing that Zbigniew Brzezinski said never do. Zbigniew Brzezinski was, the geopolitical strategist who in 1997 said how important Ukraine was for this geopolitical competition. But in his book, The Global Chessboard, he says, well, this will be the geographical pivot of Eurasia, but the one thing the United States must never do is drive China and Russia together. And then he says, but this is very unlikely to happen. And so, it's the U.S., you shouldn't declare enemies this way. It doesn't even make sense on your own terms of your own geopolitical competition. And that was Nixon's idea of triangulating between Russia and China, or Soviet Union and China, during the Cold War period. But we did what we were told, oh, that will never happen because it's such a bad idea. So right now, that is a friendship without limits, as they say, because the U.S. is targeting both of them. And the U.S. is talking the European Union into more and more of an anti-China policy. And I just can't believe it that Europe would fall for this. Because Europe, absolutely for its prosperity, needs a good relationship with China. And for a long time in the future, China will be a neighbor of Europe in Eurasia. And so you're actually on the same landmass too. And so having good relations would be a good thing, but not in the US mindset. And so the US has launched a chips war against China. This is incredible, this chips war, oh my God. I need an hour to say what I wanted to say, but I'll say it in 1 minute.
There's one more question.
The U.S. has said we're going to try to stop the Chinese economy from, modernizing at the front level by restricting the sale of advanced chips. Terrible idea, in my view. Completely belligerent. But yesterday, apparently, according to the Financial Times, I don't know whether it's definitive or not, Netherlands said we go along with this. If Europe just follows the US on this, it's not going to defeat China, but it sure is going to boomerang against Europe. It makes no sense. And what Europe should be saying to the United States is, calm down. You're still powerful. We still like you. You don't have to, you're still richer than China per capita. You can calm down. We don't want a war with China too. And that's what Europe should really be saying to the United States for its own
Thank
good.
you, Jeff. But there's one more question, and I really have to make an exception, because I really don't know what would have happened if I don't allow this, but my wife actually wants to ask a question.
This is a
catches me by surprise, so Natasha Yeremich wants to ask a question.
What is the current situation of climate change?
Okay, an easy question. Current situation on climate change. It's hot and getting hotter fast. And just to give you a couple of grim realities on this, the rate of warming of Earth on average has been 0.18 degrees Celsius per decade during the last 30 years. So that means that Earth has warmed by about half of 1 degree C over the past 30 years. Earth is now warming currently at about twice that rate, at about 0.36 degrees Celsius per decade. Now, compared to the pre-industrial temperature, the Earth is 1.2 degrees warmer than it was before industrialization. If you take 0.36 degrees C per decade, that means we'll be 1.56 degrees Celsius warmer than pre-industrial 10 years from now. That means we will be above the limit set in the Paris Agreement within 10 years. And according to my favorite climatologist, Dr. James Hansen, who I've relied on for decades, and he's been right on everything he's told me for decades, he thinks that in the next few years, when we go from the La Nina cycle in the Pacific Ocean to an El Nino, which raises the Earth's temperature on what's called an interannual basis, we could have an excess beyond 1.5 degrees Celsius, the Paris limit, within the next 5 years. The next big El Nino. We're in a La Nina right now. All of this is to say, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any doubt at all about global warming, it's real, it's serious, it's accelerating, and it's going to create a terrible mess no matter what we do. But if we don't do what we need to do, it's going to create a catastrophic